We are at 89 subscribers. We were at 80 this morning. We're at 89 now. That is awesome. So thank you to all 9 of you who thought today was the day. I appreciate it. I guess Sundays are my lucky day. So thank you for every share, every comment. I was trying to reach 100 after till at the end of summer, and you guys have already made me almost hit 100 before summer. So well above the average rate. This is really cool, really exciting. I'm happy to just talk to people about movies. Um, Gabriel Zero, you've been commenting on my shit today. Thank you. I got all 3 of your comments. I responded to every single one of them. Born Lucid, like you guys are super cool just talking about movies with me. So I appreciate you guys. And so the biggest reason I didn't go to sleep without reviewing a movie today, because I thought maybe today I'll just not review anything and just watch one for me, but I couldn't help myself. So we're keeping it going. We're keeping it rolling. The movie that I'm talking about today is called The Passenger, not to be confused with 2013 or 2016's Passengers or 2023's The Passenger or 2003's Passengers. There's a lot of fucking movies with that title. We're all very original. This one is one of 2 with titles like that I've actually liked. The one that I'm talking about today is on Shudder. It is a Shudder original. It's a Spaniard film, and it's one that I was happy to watch simply because it's a sci-fi road horror movie. And if you've watched at least a couple of my videos, you know that I'm a big fan of road slashers, road horror movies. The Hitcher remake, The Hills Have Eyes, Joyride, Jeepers Creepers. Um, there's like half a dozen other ones that I'm forgetting right now, but I really like this kind of sort of slasher niche. And to see one with sci-fi elements is kind of new. At least for me, I haven't seen one that has focused on anything sci-fi oriented when it comes to road slashers. And this one does. So the premise is you have a guy who drives for a living. He drives people from one Spaniard village to the other. And it takes an entire night to get there. He picks up 3 women, and on his nightly drive to this other town, he hits someone in the middle of the road. He takes this body inside, hoping it's still alive and that they could take it to the ER. Little does he know that there is an alien parasite living inside of this body. And he just put everyone in the van in danger. It gets a little bit more creative than that, but it doesn't get more complex. The main focus here are the characters in the first act that you get to know. The 2 main characters are a young teenage girl and the driver. She is a caricature of the worst traits of a Gen Z, and he is a caricature of the worst traits of a boomer. And at first, you're built up to not really like them. You think you're not going to fuck with them for most of the movie. But this movie's magic trick is that they're the biggest reason I kept watching this movie, because they are such lovable characters after they become the only 2 left to survive this UFO hell nightmare that they're living through. They are so fucking endearing. It was a complete and utter magic trick to do that in like 30 minutes. And it doesn't feel cheap. Like, genuinely, they still are the caricatures of those archetypes of characters, but I love their interactions with each other. Like, every bad trait that Blasco, the driver, had disappeared when he was becoming very loving and catering and caring towards her to keep her safe. And she, who's been rude to her mom, her boomer mom, the entire movie, granted, her mom is kind of a bitch, but is doing her best. To see her sort of take to another adult and kind of build this camaraderie through survival, this sort of uncle-ish relationship that I really found endearing and kept me watching. I mean, he's funny. That I believe I'm pretty sure a little bit, at least a little bit of the dialogue had to be improv, because he's just so funny, but it comes off as organic. And she, when it comes to him, begins to trust him, and it's really sweet to see like a character who's just like kind of an ass become disarmed when she feels secure. And I just thought that that dynamics was written really well. But the rest of the movie is kind of hit or miss. And I feel like for the most part, it hit for me, but it does have some glaring glaring issues. But I think that those issues weren't the point of the film, and this is why it didn't take me out of it. And we do have a significantly improved third act that really got me through. When we get to the second act, and we've already introduced the body into the van, and things start getting creepy, and someone finally gets infected, after that point, we lose the van, and the second act becomes a very basic, very uninteresting, and dull chase through the woods by these bodies that are now invaded by this alien parasite. Now, these zombie designs are nothing to write home about, but they're pretty cool and effective in the context of the film. They look like kind of a crossbreed between like zombies and the mutants from The Hills Have Eyes. Like, it looked cool, and in the right lighting, there are some genuinely really creepy shots. It's very 80s themed. It's very neon. It's very basked in nightlight and moonlight, saturated colors when there is light. So it has a very distinct look. It feels very 80s, very sci-fi 80s, and I appreciated the aesthetic. But the entire second act takes place away from the van. And if there's something you learned from the first act, is keep this movie in the van, because when it's in the van, who he refers to as Ness, because Ness, Vanessa, it's a whole thing. He made a whole thing about it, but it was adorable. The point is, when everything is happening in the van in this confined space, it works. It's when we leave the van into the second act and get into this very basic chase sequence that the lighting isn't great, the chase is kind of dull, and it's kind of ass. And at that point, I was like, man, you started out strong. I'm not really going to like this. But fuck me. When we get into the latter half of Act 2 into Act 3, we significantly improve. Why? Because we find our way back to the fucking van. This van is literary magic. I don't mean literally magic. I mean the writing's saving grace, the literary saving grace is that van. Literally, the literary, my tongue is having a hard time saying that. Literally, the literary saving grace is that van, because everything that happens in that van works for the tension, not against it. Once we get back in the van and we make the van a part of the plot device, it runs out of gas and we need to get away from these aliens. Holy shit. And these aliens run fast and they're climbing on top of the fucking van and they're climbing under it and they're getting inside of it. That stuff is exciting, and that's when the movie really works for me. That's when I can avoid. That's when I can ignore the glaring, not so well rendered fast movements that the aliens have when they're like jumping really high and then landing somewhere. That stuff looked horrible, which it wouldn't have been as horrible if the rest of the movie looked bad, but the rest of the movie actually looks really good. So to see them suddenly implement some random effect of them jumping or dashing really fast just didn't seem necessary. They were creepy enough in the lighting that you had them in. The prosthetic makeup is good and they look really feral. They also have these things that come out of their mouths that they use to implant the parasite into people's bodies. And I thought that all that stuff, everything correlated around the alien prosthetics work and how they infected their host was interesting. And I thought these aliens in the first act, how they were introduced, or this parasite that infects these people and turns them into aliens, was interesting in concept in the first act, and in the third act is really brought to fruition to be this exciting antagonist for this movie. And at some points, some of you might like this, at certain points they look like deadites, and I really enjoyed that. I was like, ooh, we're getting a little deadite lighting in here. Like it gave me that Sam Raimi vibe, just small moments, and I really enjoyed that. The movie ramps up in the third act, and so does the relationship with Blasco and the teenage girl. This sort of, again, family relationship that gets developed between strangers because of their need to survive. And it feels on occasion kind of like At World's End, the third chapter in the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and this. It's nowhere near to that level, but it does have that ambiance on occasion. It is there is dark humor. It does enhance the horror at times, but you can tell that this movie isn't taking itself very seriously, and that's what works to its advantage. It's very much a light watch that I surprisingly just decided to watch today, and I'm not completely upset that it didn't hit every single mark, because what it did right, I could tell what it did right signified to me that this felt like this was a passion project, and it came off as such a simple road horror film about a boomer and a Gen Z coming together to survive this hellish night. And of course, they have their own distinct personalities that make it so that they have stakes just enough to keep them together. But there are a lot of stupid fucking decisions in this movie. For instance, you're in the car and you see the thing is walking in the car, and you're thinking, well, I can't get to the back because getting to the back is blocked off. So how do I get to the back? I know. I'm not. I'm just gonna get out the car and get under it. Didn't like that decision making. Also, the whole reason that, not the whole reason, but one of the biggest reasons that all this happens is because the girl, when she gets out of the car amongst hitting this person, decides to look at it, an organic mass of moving alien shit, and decides to slowly touch it. You know how they do this thing with the finger and it gets real close, so the audience goes, no, don't do that. And you know that the writer wants you to know this is stupid, but sometimes it's just too dumb. Even if you reference it, it just doesn't matter. It still feels dumb. You're even referencing it's more or less, it's not smart because you referenced it. It makes it dumber that you know it's dumb and you're letting us know you know it. There are a lot of stupid elements, but for a light watch, all right, for a light watch, and this is why I don't like rating systems, because I do think there is a time and place for stupid movies sometimes. I think that this is a good light watch on a Sunday night. If you want to yell at the screen on occasion, have an endearing pair to get you through a movie, and some decent to really good special effects and a couple good chase sequences to get you through, and some good humor, because Blasco really is a fucking character. I would watch a spinoff with him having nothing to do with aliens. He was so endearing, and I do think some of his dialogue had to be improv because he's really good. Be warned, the second act was very hard for me to get through, and at a certain point I was like, I'm turning this off. But I was like, stick with it, because you liked a lot of the stuff in the first act. That stuff can't just disappear. And then in the third act, they brought it back to the van. We got back to the characters. The horror was a little bit more enhanced and a little bit more frantic. I was like, this is what I want. This is it. This is just cut off the second act and you have yourself a solid fucking film. So overall, I did enjoy this. I would recommend if you're looking for something light to watch. There has some standout moments, and I like all the UFO stuff. So I'm a sucker for alien films if they're done to humorous extent, and I think this worked enough for me. But it's not for everybody, and I do believe there's going to be a good couple of you that'll watch this and go, yeah, no, the middle act ain't doing it for me. But maybe some of you are patient like I am and might watch it and be rewarded with a good third act. So it's an hour and a half. You could do worse, but let me know if you do end up watching it, and if you agree or disagree. I'll take this over the Yeti, yesterday's Yeti, any day. So, anyway, thank you guys for watching this review. I appreciate you. Let's keep growing, keep sharing, commenting, all that stuff, so the algorithm learns to love me, as it seems to be. I'm very grateful. And as always, I will see you at... Oh, by the way, I got an unseen Scream tomorrow, a mystery movie at AMC. So tomorrow's review will come late as this one, but it will be a mystery movie. I don't know if it's Faces of Death or Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Either way, I'm excited. So be excited for that review. And that's it. Until then, guys, I will see you at the movies.